A lot of my friends have asked me to start doing some videos for Fishing Planet, so I figure I would start with a beginner's guide. This will be one of my first live streams and videos, so kind of bear with me as I'm doing this. I'm also with my partner Jeff, who's going to be at the lake I'm going to be fishing at as well. Um, Very first thing when you start the game, you're going to notice all the different lakes. You're going to start fishing at Lone Star. You're going to see that right under map. From there, you want to click down, look at the weather. When you look at the weather, these are going to be your different weather patterns. Those high humps are going to be your high peaks. Those are going to be your best times for fishing. In order to fish at night, you need an advanced fishing license. So I always recommend to buy an advanced fishing license, not a basic fishing license. You will also need that, especially at Lone Star, to catch largemouth bass and chain pickerel. Next, we'll go over fish species. This will go over each individual fish at each lake, tell you their preferred baits or lures that they prefer. These are not always correct. They will bite on other baits and lures that are not listed on the preferred bait list. Licenses, like I said, I recommend to always buy the advanced license. Lone Star is a free lake, so it's free to travel there. It's free to fast forward time. It's free to skip. Lone Star is your home lake. Any of the other lakes, if I switch to, say, Mudwater, you're going to see travel costs is $1,200. Always take that in consideration before you travel. I highly recommend not to travel until you're at least a minimum level 12 to 15, unless you buy a DLC pack. The main thing you're going to need is a net before you travel, because your net is your money. When you start the game, I believe they start you off with a 4-pound net. You can't catch a 12-pound fish and keep it in a 4-pound net. So your net is your key in this game. Your net is your money. Going to inventory, you're going to start out with a 1-rod case, maybe a 2-rod case. There is a free DLC that you can download through Fishing Planet. It's called Fishing Planet 2.0, which will give you a couple extra rods and I believe a bigger net. I think it starts you out with a 15-pound net, but do not quote me on that. Shop, this is where you're going to buy all your equipment, tackle, etc. that you're going to need for the fishing game. When it comes to rods and reels, spinning rods are going to be your lure rods. That's for casting like spoons, spinner baits, poppers, frogs, etc. Telescopic rods are a float rod. I call them cane poles because they're not going to cast very far and they are very long. The best thing when you're float fishing is going to be a match rod. Match rods will cast further than the telescopic rods. Casting rods are basically a bait caster. It's also a lure rod, except they do cast a lot shorter than a spinning rod. Feeder rods, bottom rods, carp rods, we'll get into all that stuff later, especially as a beginner. That's not something you need to worry about at this time. Next, we'll go to reels. A spinning reel will obviously go on a spinning rod. The casting reel will obviously go on a casting rod. Spinning reels will work on both either the spinning rods or the float rods like a match rod. Fisherman's term, it's an open face rod. Lines, there's different types of lines. Monoline, fluoroline, braid, and then your leaders. Your leaders are going to be when you are bottom fishing or carp fishing with bottom rods and carp rods. Braid line will cast further. Fluoroline is a transparent line. Real life fluoro is recommended for like trout because they have better eyesight as a transparent line. And then monoline. Fluoroline will stretch a little more in real life. The game does not recognize it that much. Braid is a smaller diameter line. That's one reason it will cast farther. You can see equipments. This is where you're going to buy like your keep nets. I always recommend to upgrade your keep net whenever you can, because again, your net is your money. This is where you're going to see different outfits, where you can buy tackle boxes to hold more tackle, etc., etc. Going back to inventory, if you look at the bottom right of the screen, it says 175 out of 177. That means I'm holding 175 tackle out of 177. I have the max amount tackle box that you can get. You are obviously going to start out with like 10 or 12, 15. So that is something you're going to want to upgrade along the line. Under line, I'm 17 to 17. Yours is going to be lower. Next one's reels. And then the one on the bottom left there is going to be for like your chum bait and stuff, which is will be for a different video. Your backpack is stuff that you are going to bring with you. That's where that 175 out of 177 is. Here you can scroll down, see the different reels that I'm carrying, different lines I'm carrying, hooks, baits, etc. If I hit my R2 button, home. Your home is your home storage. Home, you will have, you can see I can hold a maximum of 1,440 tackle. And I'm at 1399, it looks like. Again, this is where you're going to store all your baits and equipment. Your backpack is going to be what you are traveling with. Specials, that's going to be for like different events. It'll probably come up for this Halloween as well. The cannonballs are from the 4th of July event. Templates. This is something they added recently in the game about 6 months ago. This is where you can make different templates of different rods and reels that you like. As you see, the rod I have on the left is the Jig Winner 810 SE. This is my Jig Winner 810 SE in my template. If I ever want to switch rods, I can switch rods easily by just going to this template. And then licenses, these are all the different licenses that I own. I'm fortunate I have unlimited licenses at all of the lakes. Remember to always buy a license before you go to the lake. Your license will last 24 hours. It's 24 hours real time, not a game time. Missions, this is going to be where you're going to have different missions to start with. Mine are all completed at this time. I highly recommend to do the beginner missions. Do not travel until you get money and have a bigger net to the other lakes on the missions. Under sport, these are different competitions that you can enter. There are amateur competitions as well as pro competitions. Looking at this one right here, scores at the bottom. This is for level 12 to 22 players. Some will be a maximum level of 12, level 12. If you feel gung-ho, I do highly recommend, without traveling too much, to do some of the competitions. Premium, where you buy premium for the game. Premium will help you give you more XP and more money as you are fishing. I'll get into that as we get to the lake. Your profile, this is going to show all the fish that you've caught, your fish records. It's also going to say how long you've been in the game. To the very right, you're going to see different challenges. I highly recommend to always look at your challenge list. Starting at Lone Star, you're going to have like catch 10 crappie, catch 50 crappie, catch so many fish at night. One of the challenges is catch 100 fish at night. It's going to give you a hat with a headlight on it. I call it like a miner's cap. So you can see better when you are fishing at night. Clicking over to the next icon, this is all the different records in the game. I hit the wrong button, bear with me. Competitions, the leaders in the competition board. This is lifetime competitions. This is fish. This is where you can look at different fish. You can hit triangle, pick a lake. We are at Texas, which is Lone Star Lake. Biggest fish there is caught is a smallmouth buffalo, 3.6 pounds. By hitting square, I can switch to different species of fish. The bass is a 2.183, and so on and such. Clicking over to the next icon, this is your friends. PlayStation friends and fishing planets are two different things. You have to be a friend with something on Fishing Planet in order to join them into the lake. Like I said, I'm fishing with my buddy Jeff Kills. You can see he is active. This will show what lake he's fishing. He's at Lone Star. He's going to meet us there. He's doing a little pre-fishing there himself. Next is just basic little tutorials if you need. Settings. In-game settings. Few things I do highly recommend. Switch your tackle load indicator to Pro, not Simple. This will run your line separate, your reel separate, and your rod separate. When it comes to that, I always say 10-9-8 to everybody. You want your rod at 10 pounds, your reel at 9 pounds, and your line at 8 pounds. That way your line breaks before your rod enters your reel. If you have a 20-pound setup, you want 20, 19, 18. Now, if you can go 20, 20, 20, that is really ideal. That is a perfectly balanced reel. Under bobber size, I definitely like the bigger bobber myself personally. And you can see the other things like Ken's tutorial slides on the right as well. Alright. Under controller, I do have my sensitivity high. Under audio, where it says float fishing bite sound, you want to turn that on. What that does, it'll give you a little ding, ring, whatever you want to call it, when a fish is interested and attracted to your bait when you are float fishing. Going through your home menu and the inventory, etc. That's about it for this for now. So let's go fishing. So we are going to travel. I have my bass boat equipped. I cannot use it at this lake, but I'm keeping it on me just because I always keep it on me. I highly recommend as well, save your bait coins. You're going to need bait coins for different lures in the game at a later point in time.
Set up a room.
Things as crankbaits, etc.
I forgot to set the room up.
If not, I can set it up too.
I got it.
On the screen, you can see where it says rooms. This is where you're going to pick different rooms. Jeff just made the room, as he mentioned. So this is, if you have more than one friend at the lake, sometimes there will be multiple rooms under friends rooms. So we have friend rooms, random rooms. Will put you in any in particular room. If I make a new friends room, then Jeff or any of my friends can join me as well. If I'm under private room, that's just a room for me and me only. So let's go join Jeff.
Okay, one more. I got one more pole.
Now these are what we call pegs. These are different spots you can spawn in on the lake. And it says, Jeff's selected room is full.
Hang on a minute. 80 feet, 40, 20.
I'll make a room, Jeff.
I got it. Alright, go to the map.
I'll make a room. Just join
Okay.
Me.
Alright.
That way I'm not bouncing around rooms.
That's cool, bro.
Welcome to Lone Star Lake. In the very beginning, you're going to have basic bait. You will not have lures open yet. Your basic bait.
Selected room is full. You have joined a random.
Your basic baits in the beginning of the game are going to be like bread, dough balls, red worms, minnows, pet food, etc. I do have some more advanced bait on me. Small minnows will be at Lone Star. Right now I have a Nero 1410 equipped. If you look at the lure line weight on that rod, it says 5 to 13 pounds. If you look at my reel, the Bremer 4500, the max drag is 13 pounds. So that is a good balanced setup. I'm at 13 and 13. The line I believe I am running on here is a 12-pound line. It is Mono 12, which I don't have with me, but it is a 12-pound line. So my line will break before my rod or my reel. And on the very bottom, right where my reel it is, you see the number 21. That's how deep I have my leader set. So I'm fishing at 21 inches. You can fish 10 inches. You can go up to a max of 98 inches. So let's go fishing. A few things I want to point out real quick. Your little directional pad. If you look on the very bottom right, you're going to see that circle with an arrow. That is your reel speed and your drag. If I hit my directional pad to the right, I'm going to turn my drag up higher. This is needed when fishing for bigger fish. Smaller fish, you do not. You need your drag as high. Be careful never turning up max. Most likely you're going to break your line. I always started about halfway. Usually never end up more than 3/4. Sometimes, depending on my rod and reel setup, my balance, I can go 1 from max. Now, when you start the game, you're going to be doing what is called a flip cast. is basically a little underhand cast. Now my rod is in. I can also use my directional pad up and down to change my leader length. Let's fish at 17 inches. So this is a flip cast. Just a little underhand flip cast. When I started the game, I wish people would have had a beginner's video or knew more advanced players in the game, because I could never get my rod to cast more than 25 feet and could not figure out why. Now we have a ding. You hear that little noise. That's the sound indicator I mentioned on the settings. Come on, little fishy. Good spots to fish are always going to be against little weed lines, little areas like that. Now we're starting at 5 o'clock. I did not look at the weather or switch to peak times. We are in a, you can catch fish just about any time of the day. It's just harder when it's not a peak time or zone. I do highly recommend to get a notebook for this game. This is a very easy game. It is fishing, but it can be very complicated. The more you get in the game, different fish bite at different times, different days, different weathers. If you look at the top left, I'm at 5:09 a.m., day 1 of 1. 62 degrees outside, it's a cloudy day. That little thermometer next to it is what's called a barometer. A higher barometer, fish tend to be more stagnant, and fish usually hide a little deeper. Smallmouth bass are a good example of that. Some fish do bite better on a high barometer day. The northern pike, for example, for myself personally, always works very well. Come on, fishy. You know why I'm not catching the fish? I'm running a 4/0 hook. I have too big of a hook on here. So, going to hook sizes. I need a smaller hook. Your hook sizes are going to range from hook number 16 to hook number 1. I have a 14 with me, a number 2. So a number 2 hook will be bigger than a number 14. From there, your hook sizes go into what we call aughts. This is 2/0, that's a 2/0, 3/0. I happen to have a 4/0 on this rod for some reason. I'm going to switch to, let's say, a number 4, because we're just fishing bluegill and crappie. Again, in the beginning of the game, it is a little flip cast. No wonder, Jeff, I'm getting ding, ding, ding. Nothing's taking the frickin' bait. I got a jaw hook on there.
I know. I did that. I've done that before. Either that or I got too big a hook, you know. I got a too big a hook where
this
I'm
was a 4/0.
Oh, yeah, no. Hey, don't feel like the Long Ranger, Tonto.
Right. You will make mistakes in this game.
Yeah, you will make, and you will learn. You will learn. You will learn by your mistakes. It's not a big deal. Just go back, and this lake is free. You need to start out here if you're going to do anything like that, because it doesn't cost you nothing to fish here. It's free. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, bait.
Yeah, just bait. Just cost you bait. And you can always, if you're a decent fisherman, you can always catch enough fish to buy your own bait.
L2 sets the hook, catch a fish. Hey, we got a little point.
There you go, green sunfish. There you go. And that's how you do it.
Next
I got one too.
Point out,
I got a green sunfish too. We both got a green sunfish. There you go.
Here, your ideal time, it looks like 6 p.m. to about 9 p.m. Now you can see the restarting 5 a.m. That is not too bad of a time to fish. If you look at day 2, obviously it's going to be from like 5 to 9 and 6 to 9. Especially since you only have a small net and this is a free lake, I do not recommend to fish from 11 till 3.
Yep.
We're going to go to 6 p.m. In order to do that, you hit the square button and you fast forward time. Now again, Lone Star is free. There is no what they call cooldown period for fast forwarding. If I was at a different lake, you can see it says cooldown for the next fast forward would be 1 hour and 16 minutes. That would mean I'd have to wait 1 hour and 16 minutes before I could go to the next skip. So, skipping. In order to make an overhand cast instead of a flip cast, push your R3 button, your right joystick. Now we can cast further. By hitting your left 2 button, this is what we call a target cast, a directional cast. This is where you can aim your cast, place your cast where you want to fish, where you feel fishing is more optimal for yourself.
You're just tearing my crickets up.
Now you do not need to use the target casting. That is an option. You can cast normal, especially if you're just casting out a lure and you just want to cast as far as you want to cast.
That is true.
Reeling in real quickly. We are going to go with a spinning rod. Mistake I made, I kept buying rods and reels and could not cast a lure when I first started the game. Again, in order to cast lures, you need a spinning rod, not a telescopic rod or a match rod. Now, there are 2 different shops. You have what they call a lake shop and your home shop. Your home shop sells everything. Lake shop sells certain lures and certain baits just for that lake only. Under rods and reels here, as you can see, there is only 1 rod available. This is something that will be at your level available for you when you turn level 3, this in particular rod. It is a value spin, 3 to 6 pounds. You're going to run 6-pound line or lighter on that rod. Going to inventory, I'm going to switch to a jig winner. Again, I recommend saving your coins for everything. Coins are gold in this game. You're going to need it for certain lures like crankbaits and this in particular spoon that I am using at the moment. This spoon, I highly recommend get in the beginning of the game. It's going to be a 1/4 ounce 1/0. I'm running the bigger one of it with the 2/0 hook. It is a casting spoon. This spoon is dynamite. It will take you the very first 4 or 5 legs very easily. Now you can also switch your rods and reels by holding L1. This will scroll through your different rods and reels. R1 will switch through different lures that I have in my backpack, not home storage. And this is my target cast. Here, if I was to make a full cast, would be too far. I can remember this as 3/4, so I can use it without target casting and cast not like that, but cast 3/4. And I'm stuck in the weeds because I cast it too far. Now, as you look at the bottom right, you're going to see my reel speed is at 1. I can click it to 2. This will bring the bait in faster. Now, you can leave it at 1 speed and just keep reeling, holding the R2 button. It'll say straight and slow. That is bringing in your bait straight and slow. Fish will bite on this retrieve. Another retrieve is stop and go. I'm going to switch my bait speed up, my reel speed up to 2, and I'm going to basically hit and release the R2 button. Reel it in, stop. Reel it in, stop. Reel it in, stop. Now you can also take your rod and twitch. And we have a fish on. Now my drag was a little low there. As you can see, I turned it up a notch. This in particular rod is a 12-pound setup for a 2-pound fish. It is a little overpowering for this. As you notice, it's a 1.145-pound bass. It's worth $88. I get 6 experience points on that. Those 3 red arrows means I'm getting less XP. If I was using a 4-pound rod instead of a 12-pound setup, I would get more XP. Those red arrows just means you're losing XP, not you lost XP. You're just getting less XP per fish. So if I was using a lighter rod, I may get 12 XP, 20 XP. etc., depending on the rod and reel I'm using. For the bass and the pickerel, 3 spots I do recommend is here in the center, here to the right, here to the left. When I'm casting to the right, I like to scoot a little over to the left, give myself a little better angle, and vice versa.
Oh, there you are. You're right behind me. All right. Come on.
Fish on.
That's why.
Again, I highly recommend to sit at Lone Star and farm. Do not travel till you get at least a 26-pound net. Then you will probably most likely go to Emerald Lake. Mudwater is the next lake that opens. I recommend do not travel there. You have 12-pound catfish there. You're not going to be able to, one, have the gear to bring it in, and two, the net to keep that fish. There are bigger bass and pickerel at that lake if you do farm bass and pickerel only at Mudwater. But again, remember, you're going to have a travel cost and a fishing license that you have to buy when you travel. So save yourself up at least $20,000–$30,000 before you travel. Upgrade your equipment to at least a 6-pound setup. Once you get a 6-pound rod, 6-pound reel, 6-pound line setup, or better, you can travel to Emerald Lake or some of the other lakes at the low level. Unless you have anything to add, Jeff, that you think I missed, this is going to conclude my video of Fishing Planet Beginner's Guide. Tightlines to everyone.
Really, I just wanted to say thank you, Hawk, for letting me be a part of it. And this is a really fun game, y'all. It can be really educational, really fun game to play. There's some really good, nice, big fish in this game, and nice-looking fish in this game. And this game can be fun. Yep. And you can meet a lot of nice people and not a lot of nice friends in this game also. So I just want to say tight lines and fat uniques to everybody. Y'all have a great day or great evening or whatever you're having, and thank y'all. Thank everybody very much.
All right, thank you for watching the video. I will make another video at a later date, starting out with like Emerald Lake and some of the lower level lakes to help all of you guys. Tight lines and keep on fishing.